Morning. Welcome to Shore Fishing Essex. You join me inside my shed. For better acoustics, I suppose. It's like a little studio for me, but it's a right old mess. So let's crack on. Right, I haven't been making many videos lately, and the reason why is I am actually back to work and I'm earning good money. So after this dreadful pandemic, I'm out there making hay while the sun shines. Quite literally, you know. It's been quite a decent October, I must say. But it just means I've had no time to make any new films. There's just no output from my channel whatsoever. And yeah, I'm just explaining why. It's just the way it goes. And you know, when I get into this mode of going to work non-stop 6 days a week, and just trying to make up for, you know, the past 18 months or whatever, and when I get into that mode, I stop watching videos, I stop watching fishing videos, so I'm not commenting on anyone else's videos, I'm not watching them. I've got a treat to come when I do actually sit down and get time to watch all them videos. So if you're wondering why I'm not commenting on your videos and that kind of thing, if you're used to it and you're wondering why I'm not putting content out there, that's the reason why. I'm just out there just earning as much money as I can before Christmas, because I've had such a dreadful time during the pandemic doing all sorts of jobs that I didn't want to do where I'm earning rubbish money. So that's where I stand with that. I'm just here to say that I'm still going to create content when I can, and when I feel like it, it will come eventually. Right, so first things first, the reason for this video, apart from me telling you why there's a bit of a downturn in content, is the fact that in the past I've been asked about the shellfish classification system, like the grading of you get the A, B and C, and I've spoken about it in the past, and people have said to me, like, you know, how'd you find out about this stuff? So I'm going to show you how I do it. I get all my information from reading books and looking online. You know, you can't know everything, so you've got to do this stuff. You've got to research it. And I'm going to show you the websites that I look at, and I'm going to show you a couple of books that I've used in the past. First, let me say that if it wasn't for John Wright and his book Edible Seashore, the notion of shellfish classification wouldn't have entered my head. So, credit where credit's due. Also, another notable mention must go to Richard Maybe for his Food for Free book, which is also indispensable for the would-be hunter-gatherer. Right, if you want to look online for this stuff, the first step is to enter into your search engine Food Standards Agency Shellfish and click onto the website of the Food Standards Agency, which should be at the top of the list. I've even put a big red arrow next to where you should be clicking. This is what you should see at the top of the page. If you scroll down, all sorts of helpful information appears, including permitted levels of E. coli. Shellfish are classified in the UK according to the levels of E. coli found in the flesh of the offending mollusk. The more E. coli detected in the shellfish, the greater the risk of unwanted bacteria entering the body. So the site details the permitted levels of E. coli in shellfish before it can be marketed. These are the guidelines that I use to determine whether an area is safe for me to go gathering shellfish, basically. Incidentally, if my droning Cockney voice talking over this text is driving you mad, turn the volume down and you can read this information on the screen without any distraction. So here, you can see from these guidelines that Class A shellfish, as classified by the FSA, can be harvested for direct human consumption, i.e. they can be eaten raw. Yippee! So this is Class B. This is where I personally draw the line when I gather shellfish. Class B shellfish for the casual gatherer, in my opinion, must be cooked. Nearly all the shellfish that I've gathered in the past are from Class B waters. Right, so this is Class C. I wouldn't personally gather anything from anywhere with this classification, even if I were to cook it. Better to be safe than sorry, for me personally. That's all I'm saying. So for what it's worth, this is the information on prohibited areas. That's easy for me to say. So for what it's worth, this is the information on prohibited areas. I mean, why would you even bother? So if you scroll right down, you come to this section, which reads current classification list. That's easy for me to say. You can download a PDF file which lists the areas of England and Wales, which is relevant to, well, to me obviously, and this is what you see at the top of the list. You can see where I've underlined in red that this information is right up to date. Just scroll down to the area that you want to gather shellfish from. So for me, it's the Crouch, the Roach and the Thames Estuary. For some reason, not all areas are covered. I don't know why, but I can only work with the available information provided here. Right, so another useful tool available are the maps provided by CFAS. enter CFAS Shellfish Monitoring into your search engine and click on the top result. You should see this page. Now click on these 3 lines where the red arrow is pointed at. Next, you should see this page. Click on Data and Publications, again where the red arrow is pointing. This takes you to a page with lots of options. Scroll down to Shellfish Classification and Microbiological Monitoring and click on this. You should now see this. Scroll down to where you see England and Wales Classification Monitoring and Scotland Classification Monitoring. Click on your country of choice. Once clicked, scroll down to Data and there should be a clickable option for Classification Zone Maps. I've underlined it in red here. Click this. Right, now you should see this at the top of the page. Scroll down a little and you should see Ord/Orr, which I think is in Suffolk, Amble, which is in the northeast, and Anglesey, Meltreath Bay. I hope I'm saying that right. Which are all not currently classified. This is what I was saying previously about all areas being covered. I'm not sure why, but it would be safe to assume that any shellfish gathered in these areas should at the very least be cooked, if gathered at all. Just saying. So as you can see by scrolling down the page, my area is covered, thankfully. And if you click on Crouch Mytilus species, that's mussels to you and me and to anyone who don't know. This map appears with all the relevant information contained. For people like me to decide what course of action to take with regard to coastal foraging, I must say that this particular map is most useful to me, as it informs me that the mussels around Southend Pier are now Class B long term. Last time I checked, they was Class C, which for me, it informed my decision not to harvest them. So, you know, that's brilliant. That's up to date. Right, I'll let you into a little secret. There's an even easier way to get to these maps. I've since found out that this cuts out a lot of faffing around. So if you enter CFAS Shellfish Maps and click on the top result, it takes you straight to this page. And it's obviously a lot easier than all that faffing around that I just mentioned. But that's 2 ways of getting these maps up. Right, it's an early October Sunday morning and I'm at Chalkwell. This could be part of my species hunt videos. I'm going to tag it onto one of them anyway. I'm slowing down a little bit because of work and the pressures of it. 6 days a week. I don't get much time to go fishing these days. But I'm out here with a fellow YouTuber from Essex Anglers. Bailey over there. He's trying to entice some, well, hopefully rock gobies and shannies out of this tidal pool at Chalkwell. I think it's a tall order, but we've come down here to try anyway. There's nowhere else in Essex you can really do this because of the tidal flows, the coloured water. It's not easy. But yeah, I'm just buoyed because I've just seen Tyson Fury bash Deontay Wilder, so that's one good thing this morning. Even if we don't catch nothing, it's a beautiful morning anyway to do it. Right, look, I'm going to split up a little bit. I'm going to leave this corner to you, and I'm going to go up there about 100 yards, right? Yeah, cheers, you too. Yeah, there's probably common gobies. The thing is, if there's a bigger fish there and they see that commotion, you know, it might draw them in. Wow, there are tons of little tiny common gobies in this pool. You won't be able to see it, but there are hundreds in there. Now, I've not had much success catching small fish out of these pools. I have it in a landing net when I've been after bait and when I've been after foraging for shrimps and prawns. But actually fishing for fish, that's a different story. I've caught shannies and rock gobies, as I've stated before. There's a couple of pictures now. Let's just give it a go. believe it or not, I've had a couple of little knocks. Not further out into the middle of the pool. Normally, most of the fish that I catch or see are tight to the wall amongst all the oysters and seaweed. But yeah, I'm wondering what that might be on the sand out there in the middle. They're plucking it. I'm only using a size 12, so they've got to be tiny fish not to be able to take that. Possibly common gobies snatching at a little chunk of isomi that I've got on there. I might have to scale down. Not that I want to. Got snagged up there. That was one last cast I was going to have before I was going to change my tactics. I've lost everything. Me hook, me weight, me bait, everything. So I'm going to have to change tactics. That's what I'm doing now. And look at the sun just coming up over the horizon. I was definitely having little plucks there. So if I change down to a size 16, well, we'll see. So that, my friends, is a sand goby. I didn't know there were sand gobies in here, but that has taken that. You can see on the dorsal fin there's a little bit of cream on the dorsal fin. That shows me that that's a sand goby. That's a new one to the species hunt.
That's a lovely little fish, isn't it?
Yeah, that was at sort of about 10 yards out. I weren't getting nothing along the sides here, so I cast it out immediately, pluck, pluck, pluck. So I just had to scale down to a size 16. The only trouble is that's a barbless, so. But yeah, that's a sand goby. You can see on the dorsal fin there's a little bit of cream on the dorsal there. That's like they've got a creamy, yeah, like a black spot with a little bit of cream colour around it. But yeah, I need to get a photo of that for the species hunt. There he goes.
Off he goes, back into his crevice.
Yeah, look, I'll show you. Look, it was I was getting bites immediately, but I just couldn't connect with him because of the hook was too big. Let's tangle it up a bit. Look. That's how I had to tie it like that because it's hooked to nylon. But
so I've done pretty much the same, but I've put a few BB shots on instead.
Right, okay.
But it's still,
yeah,
I can barely feel it.
Right, Bailey's just had a fish. I'm assuming, by how small he's saying, it's probably a common goby.
Smallest fish you'll see in your life.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, that's a little common goby.
Another one's dropped down there, but God knows where he went.
What you down to? What you scaled down to?
So I've gone for a tiny little ISO on the size 18.
Right, okay.
With 2 BB shots.
I'm amazed that they just attack it, don't they, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they're not actually getting on the hook, they're just getting stuck on it more than anything.
Yeah. Well, he's out the water now, isn't it? It's a fish.
We'll guide him back.
Well done, you're off the mark. Yeah, look, see that up in the water there?
Yeah.
That's probably a tiny little bass. These gobies, they won't be up in the water. Okay, so they'll be closer down the bottom, you know. So I don't know. You could try. You could try. I think they're stuck in the pool and they're paranoid, you know, because they're used to the ocean. When the ocean drains away, they're stuck in here and they're probably feeling vulnerable, you know. Give it a go, or try out in the middle. See if you can get one of them sand gobies. I mean, it's not much to show, but it's a common goby. He fell off the hook as I brought him in. I mean, I know that's tiny, but it's another fish. 2 species. That's another common goby. tiny fish. Bet they're having a go. Can't resist that isomi. Go on. That's a common goby. That's quite a big one actually for a common goby. They're woofing that size 16 down though. Yeah. Yeah. Another sand goby. Is that a sand goby? I can't tell. Let's get him in the water, see if he extends his fins. Yeah, you see the little cream spot on the dorsal fin? Beautiful. He's not extending his dorsal fin, but I can just see it. Yeah, just see that? Right, so we've had enough. We've caught enough sand gobies and common gobies. What do you think of that, Bailey?
Yeah, at least we've got some fish.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I've caught a new species for Essex, a sand goby. I can add that to the species hunt. And yeah, happy days. Not monster fish, but just experimental. At least we met each other in the end.
Yeah, better than being in bed as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I had a spring in my step because Tyson Fury won as well, so happy days. Happy days all round. Well, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
and
nice to meet you.
Next time you have any ideas, or if I find out anywhere else we can do anything like this, somewhere better, I'll give you a shout for sure.
Sounds good. Definitely do it again.
All right, Bailey, nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
See you, mate. Be lucky. Good luck with your channel as well. Oh, well, he's a nice fella. It's nice to collaborate with like-minded people. As I say, we're not pulling up trees here, we're not catching monster fish, but we're just showing you what's possible in Essex. A little bit of LRF fishing. Has anybody else ever bothered with that in Essex? I don't think so. Over and out. So people have asked me in the past how to tell the difference between common and sand gobies. There are definitive methods to tell the two species apart, but this involves, you know, like scale counts and vertebrae counts. And with fish this small, unless you take them home and kill them, or you take a magnifying glass out with you, these methods are not really practical in the field. So, you know, this is what I know. So basically the sand goby grows a little larger than the common goby, and it's generally lighter in colour as well. I've found common gobies a lot more variable in colour than sand gobies, especially in spring when the males are a lot darker, like in this picture shown here. I mean, they can be dark at other times of the year as well, but they can also be nearly translucent, so you can't always go by the colour. But generally, common gobies are darker than the lighter coloured sand goby. I've also got a picture here of a gravid female that I caught from Canvey Island, and you can see that the females can also be quite dark as well. The black spot on the dorsal with the cream coloured halo is generally a diagnostic indicator of a sand goby, but male common gobies can also have the black spot on the dorsal fin, especially during breeding season. So, you know, it does get a little confusing. All right, let's try and look at the Latin names now. Let's try and find a clue in the Latin names. You've got Pomatoscistus minutus, which is a sand goby, and Pomatoscistus microps, which is obviously the common goby. The microps part of the common goby's Latin name in taxonomy refers to small eyes. If you look at the two gobies in these photos, you can see that the sand goby at the bottom has relatively larger eyes than the common goby above. Although, you know, if you don't have the two side by side, such as in this photo, you don't really have nothing to compare them to, each other to. So, you know, there's one last diagnostic feature which can be used, but again, it's a subtle difference. But if you look at the base of a common goby's pectoral fin, there's a slight darker marking there. I mean, this is what I know, and, you know, they are quite difficult to tell apart, but when you've caught a few, it just comes with experience.